Okay. In a time when the private sector makes less and less, and in many cases have no pension, how will you resolve the unfunded financial obligations due to the excessive contributions our previous city council agreed to give to police, firemen, pension funds because they were strong-armed by the unions during the real estate boom several years ago?
Can you read it for me?
I will not. I know, it's very complicated. Okay, here we go. At a time when the private sector makes less and less, and in many cases have no pension, how would you resolve the unfunded financial obligations due to excessive contributions previous council agreed to for police and firemen pension funds because they were strong-armed by the unions during the real estate boom?
I am a small business owner. My wife is a school teacher. I live paycheck to paycheck, like most people out there working. I have my own 401k that I try to contribute to every year because I'm on my own. The mistakes of the past, I can't answer to. We still need to, we have to, basically, we cannot forget the past and we cannot forget the agreements that they've already made, and we need to make arrangements to make good on it. Moving forward, I know that we have other steps in place when it comes to pensions and firemen and policemen, but again, those deals were made before I got here. I can't answer to them. I do know that the unfunded liability is a big issue that we need to address and get paid down. But on the same token, is we can't forget the deal that was made. The deal was made. That's something that the city has to live up to. All I know is we can try and make it better moving forward.
Picture, if you will, 3 balloons. The first balloon is the total pension liability, and that balloon is growing in leaps and bounds. It's doubled in the last 10 years. The pension liability, total pension liability. Picture a second balloon that's growing equally fast, and it's the assets of the plan. And then picture this third balloon that's pretty much stayed the same size. That third balloon is the unfunded liability, the total plan liability minus the total plan assets. It's actually moved upwards, but there's no getting at it. They've made overpayments to it, but it's still not bringing down this UAAL, the unfunded portion of the pension liability. And there's no way to bring it down. We're already paying, in the case of fire, over 100% of payroll into the pension. In the case of police, I think it's 70-odd% of payroll is going into the pension plan already. What is your appetite for more payments? How much do you want your taxes to go up so we can put more into this arrangement? But that's not the real problem. What I've just said so far is not the real problem. Remember that second balloon, the plan assets? They are invested in a sky-high stock market. If the stock market corrects in a serious manner for an extended period of time, that unfunded portion is going to double overnight. This is a recipe that will ultimately bankrupt this city. Be clear on that. Defined benefit pensions are an open-ended liability that will ultimately bankrupt the person that's trying to stand up to it. That's why virtually all of industry has abandoned defined benefit pensions. The only place it still exists to any extent is in government, who believe they can just keep on taxing us to cover their mistakes. Now, what are we going to do about it? I feel bad for the people that have all of their livelihood tied up in these plans. I think it is a horrible bet, a horrible gamble, that successive councils into the future are going to keep on trying to stand up to these payments. And that's assuming we don't have a serious reversal in the stock market. My solution would be, we have to cap our debt where it is. That's going to be a negotiated situation with the unions. They're going to have to cooperate. At that point, we can give them full, once we're out of guaranteeing these pensions, we can give them full authority to invest as they want. And I would suggest they start investing in real assets. The primo investment for a pension plan is something that returns a monthly return of income. An apartment building, an apartment complex would be an ideal investment within this plan. The Lomans are a pretty savvy business family, and when they sold out their funeral business, do you know what they invested in? Nearly $30 million? Apartment complexes. They announced they wanted 1,000 doors in this area, and to my knowledge, they've just about met their decision point. Now, let's ask a question. How much do you think they made on their $30 million investment last year? I will tell you it was a hell of a lot more than what the Port Orange pension plans return. I think the best one is about 2%, another one is maybe 0.75%, and the third one actually lost 1% or 2%. So that's the reality of where we are with these pensions. We can talk smoke all we want about past obligations and all happened before my time, you bet. But the elected council needs to look at it going forward, is what they need to do. And they need to keep two interests in mind, the plan holders and the taxpayer. Thank you.
There's an awful lot of facts there that were true. I still didn't actually hear a plan in that. I'm going to tell you some of the things I've been working on the past few years. When I came on council at the end of 2010, it was in the middle of the Great Recession, and the pension plans were a mess. They've improved, and they've made some progress, but there's still issues with them. One of the problems we had with the pension plans is our employees were not invested in them. We were asking fire people, we were asking police, put 0.5% away. Right now, fire is what, 8% or 8.5%, 8% of their salary goes directly. They are now investing in their pension plan. Police is 7.5%. So they're investing in their pension plan. A dozen years ago, the city was not even investing in our pension plan. They were letting the market returns take care of it all by itself. That was foolish. I can't turn back the clock. None of us were there then, and if I could, I would. Because a small investment then would have gone a long way now, and we would have solvent plans. Because if you take a look at the way the plans are now, the employees that are in them now, that are paying in now, that investment is solid. We would not have an underfunded plan if we were operating it then the way we are now. We are trying, we budget to put money into those pensions every year the way our actuary says. When we have shortfalls as far as employee turnover, and it allows us to put the budgeted amount in, even though that person's there, we go beyond that and we stay within our budgets. Is it a mess? Yes. Do we have promises to keep? I cannot tell an 82-year-old former firefighter that I've got to take your pension away. Yes, we've got to keep those promises. Those were made when they were working. That's the deal they signed up for. That's the deal they get. But the deal that they're getting right now is a very different one from what they're getting even just 5 years ago. They are they're not just literally vested in it from a financial standpoint, but they're literally vested in it as they are paying into those plans and they're participating fully every time they pick up their paycheck. Now, my dream scenario is I'd like to give people a little bit more flexibility as to what to do with their money. I would like to be able to say, hey, this is what it's costing me. Mr. 27-year-old fireman, Mr. 29-year-old police officer, if you want more in your paycheck right now and invest less in your future because you need it, because you're starting a family, I'd like to be able to do that and give them that flexibility. I'd like to be able to see that 49-year-old firefighter who family, their kids are grown, their mortgage is paid, who wants to put more of their salary into an investment plan, which, by the way, we have changed to be able to include real estate in those investment plans. Those investment managers can now do that. If those people wanted to, later in life, make those decisions, they should be able to do that. The problem is, right now, we have in the state of Florida, whatever you do with retirement, it's one size fits all. And when you have 82 police officers, there isn't one or two opinions. You're going to have a dozen opinions about what different situations are. So it's very hard, it's very difficult, and it's something we got to continue to work on. But I think we've made a lot of progress. They're participating right now. We've got a long way to go, I'll admit that. But we haven't sat on our hands, we haven't done nothing. That's a lot of money they're putting into their own plans. The city's investing a lot of money every year, and that's something that we didn't do a dozen years ago. You can't repeat the mistakes of the past. We are doing it differently.